आपादमौलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणाम् आकृतिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्ध्यन्ति च मनोरथः लक्ष्मीं तनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षम् अमृतद्वयं निगमशाकिशिखा प्रवालम् हैरम्बमम्बुरुहडम्बर चौर्यनिग्रहं विघ्नाद्रिभेदशतधारधुरन्धरन्नः सर्वेषां स्वागतं. Welcome to the Bhashya session. So, we're talking about Rishi Pulaha's reference that Acharya has given. And the first one was pretty simple. Aindram Indra Param Sthanam Yamaradhya Jagatpatim Prapa Yajna Patev Vishnum Tamaradhaya Subrata. So this is a direct reference, and there is a story actually. And there was a king named Purandara. He was a very just king and great king, and he was a very big bhakta of Narayana, and his bhakti influenced or impressed Vishnu so much, Bhagavan Vishnu so much, that he appeared in front of him and asked him for any boon, which is very rare. Um, that needs to be understood. So it's very, in our Puranas, it is very easier to please Shiva or Brahma also. We will find most of the Daityas try to exploit that by taking that route. They do penance for either uh, Shiva or Brahma. The reason is simply being uh, Shiva is said to be very innocent when it comes to the approach of uh, his bhaktas. He has no judgment. He even I think uh, there was one Aghori, or that is the reason all kinds of worship is accepted for Shiva. There is no restrictions. He does not do that kind of discrimination, because he accepts anything only the nature. He doesn't bother about the form or anything like that. So the best way to actually please Shiva is only through water. Just keep dropping water on the shivling, and the energy turns positive. So like that. But when it comes to sustenance, we cannot have extreme urjas. That means I cannot be extremely tamasic and expect that to sustain me. Like, for example, consider a person who is bedridden. He is not able to move about. Then what happens? He starts losing muscle mass. He starts losing the movement. So what happens if we want ourselves to sustain? Then we need to keep up in a certain state of mind. That means it has to be moving, but that movement also should not be something that is beyond our energy creation. If my pace is greater than the energy that has using up, I'm not going to give enough time for energy creation, transformation. So what happens is I'll get exhausted, then I will obviously fall down, or I'm going to I'll have to end. So there is a balance that is required. So by nature, Hari Diksha requires us to be of sattvic mind. We cannot go to extremes. While that this is one of the biggest differences when we approach Dvaita and Advaita. Advaita requires us to go for extremes. Complete detachment, completely away from the material world, giving up. But here, the expectation when we go to the Vaishnavatva, when we talk about Vaishnavatva, is that sustenance is not possible in extremes. It cannot exist for a long period of time. Sustenance is that it has to be in that state for a long period of time. So I cannot sustain in a long period of time if I do not balance the extremes. That is one of the reasons that we find that Aradhana of Vishnu is there for his Krupa Kataksha, but we usually don't get it. He is very pleased with his bhaktas. But when we are talking about boons or anything, we don't find many references to boons. We find in our Puranas where Shiva is granting, Shiva grant Bhasmasura boon. And Bhasmasura immediately he wanted to test his boon on Shiva itself. And the boon was that whoever he keeps his hand on, he turns into ashes. So like that, we find reference to boons from Shiva and Brahma, but not to that of Vishnu. But this Purandara, being a great devotee of Vishnu, Bhagavan Vishnu appears and he asks him, what do you want? I will grant you any boon that you want. And this King Purandara, he says, I would like to rule the gods. Now, we should not take that anybody who does bhakti doesn't have. This is one of the indication that they are completely away from the moha of manifested forms, attachment to manifested forms. So, when King Purandara asks for Swargaloka, he grants it. Narayana grants it, and so what happens is King Purandara becomes the new Indra, and he starts ruling. And there is no adverse stories or anything like that that he goes out of bounds or anything. That he becomes a very good Indra and he rules. Just like as a king, he was a just king. He becomes the good Indra also. So Indra is a position. So Indra is also, there is another meaning to it. Aindram, that is the Indriyas, the Pancha Indriyas, the importance of Indriyas. So that is also there. But here we are talking about Aindram Indra. He is the specific reference to, this is actually from Brahma Purana. So there it is said that Purandara was granted a boon of becoming Indra also. And that is what reference Rishi Pulaha is saying, that you can, he became like that, so that you want any kind of what do we say, any wishes that you want, that also will be fulfilled. So you do Aradhana of Vishnu. So Aindram, Indranam Kliptam. So that is the meaning. So anyway, basic story that the Rishi is trying to say is that, so this sthana is also granted, and it's a very great sthana, Ucha sthana. So is also granted. So do the Aradhana of Narayana. Then प्राप्नोत्याराधिते विष्णौ मनसा यद्यदिच्छति त्रैलोक्यांतर्गतं स्थानं किमु लोकोत्तरोत्तरम, or uttaran, both can be used. So here this shloka is from Vishnu Purana. That means the reference is from Vishnu Purana. So now we see, despite it is one Rishi who's saying this, it is on different reference points, different sources. So therefore, we are not saying that Pulaha Uvacha, that we are not saying. So these are not direct quotes. These are references. So Rishi Pulaha is giving another opinion, and it is a continuation of this opinion in Vishnu Purana. Previously, it was from Brahma Purana. Now this is from Vishnu Purana. So here he says, Prapnoti Aradhite Vishnu. So Prapnoti Aradhite Vishnu Manasa Yadyadichati Trailokyantargatan Sthanam Kim. Within the three, we are talking about now what three, what manifested forms you're talking about. He will grant you entry into Vaikuntha only. That is Lokottar Ottaram. So that is what has been said over here. So here, why is it important to understand the place called Vaikuntha? Vaikuntha, as everybody knows, is an extremely important part of Vaishnava learning. It is the adobe of Lord Vishnu, of Hari. Now, the question is, why is this so important? Vaikuntha is said to have been created after the end of, after cosmic dissolution. It is said like that. Cosmic dissolution means after the whole creation has ended and it has been sucked into one singularity, and then a new creation has happened. So remnants of that, and it was created by Mahavishnu himself. And it is said that, and this is given in Padma Purana actually, that that how the creation of Vaikuntha happened, it is given in Padma Purana. So here it is said that after Pralaya, this is cosmic dissolution. After Pralaya, Vishnu himself created, Bhagavan Vishnu himself created Vaikuntha. This Vaikuntha is said to be where Vishnu resides in the form of Narayana. In the form of Narayana. So we have many names for Bhagavan Mahavishnu, and out of that we are talking about different names make impact over here. Since many of the names have different meanings. So so here he resides, that is Vishnu resides in the form of Narayana. Narayana means um, uh, the one who takes shelter in the ocean. In the ocean, matlab in the we usually say, Kshira Sagara. He's residing in Kshira Sagara. He's one who is residing over. He is called as Narayana, specifically over there. So in that place called as Vaikuntha, there is Kshira Sagara. In that Kshira Sagara, the form of Parabrahman that is residing, that we call as Narayana. That is the reason we say when we talk about Narayana, we will not see the avatars that we see, that is not Narayana. He will always reside there only. That main is going to be here, there only. The avatars, amshas are going to come into existence. So it's called as Mahavishnu in many texts. There is Mahanarayana Upanishad also, which speaks about these things. So now, when we talk about this place called as Vaikuntha, here we know the origin is that it has come out of cosmic dissolution. That is, after Pralaya, Mahavishnu himself, he created this, and he created this tattva, that is this place called Vaikuntha, with the Panchabhutas. So that this is where we get involved, because we are also made out of Panchabhutas. So we can, it is said that we can physically enter Vaikuntha. It is possible for us. And it involves all the three tattvas. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas also exists in Vaikuntha. Therefore, there are different dimensions. All the different dimensions, it exists over there. And there are different realms of existence. This realms of existence, it's actually basically the creation of Vaikuntha is seen, it's as a symbol of a bridge between the totally manifested form, that is our loka, and the ultimate reality. That means the complete dispersedness of the primordial matter, and to something that is fully manifested, hugely bound, and to something that is free, something that is bridging this gap. Now, why we have to understand this in a more metaphoric sense? Instead of thinking of this place as my mythological, state, or some place somebody conceived out of it, thinking like that, we need to understand the references that they have given. First, it says that it has come out of pralaya, or the material that has come out of pralaya. It was created after a pralaya, which means what form is going to be there? It is going to be the matter form, that is atomic matter. So Vaikuntha has been constructed using that form, which means we can take it to be a collection of atoms in that form. The most reference that I can match to this is something called as a nebula. In space, there is something called as nebula. This nebula is said to be the birthplace of a star. So this nebula is a cloud of gases, atoms, charged particles, dust, everything coming together, and it is in a compact space. There is so much of cloud that it gives the there are different kinds of nebula. There is something called as a emission nebula. There are clouds of gases. Because of the charged particles, the radiation, ionization, they start to emanate light, and this light can be blinding. Whiteness will come into our eyes, like how we, when we try to see the sun, our and close our eyes, we will see reddishness in our we will feel the redness. Some light that is going to even when we close our eyes, it is our eyes can still hold the sense of brightness. Like that, the illumination that we have gained from this ionized particles of that clouds of gases, it emits a whitish bhaswara rupa, we say. So white sense, very bright light. This can be what Sagara they are talking about, the white clouds, ionized clouds. Because exactly in the middle of that ionized clouds is where the birth of a star can take place. And exactly in the middle or in the center of this nebula is where, so the center of Sagara is where Narayana resides. And there is one, as we have talked about the balance of natural forces. So it has immense pressure, but it stays in a certain state. The evolution of that state does not happen for a long period of time. Then it starts to develop a star, and that then star comes out. So we have to understand this concept of Vaikunta in such a way that it is not a place. It is not a place that has been created, that in, like, we are looking at it as a manifested form. We are looking at it as a house because we live in a house. Therefore, we are conceiving it as a house. But it can be much more than that. Because even our texts say that it was created out of the remnants of Mahapralaya. After what Mahapralaya, whatever was left out of that, Mahavishnu gathered it and he built one Vaikuntha. So obviously that force bringing all the clouds together, all the material together, all the remnants together, binding them together, then creating their own forces of cohesion, and then different they will start reacting in different way. There are different types of nebulas also. There are dark spaces in a nebula. That is what tamas tattva is also present in Vaikuntha, it seems. That can be the dark nebula also. Dark nebula is where the clouds of gas are so dense that the light from the stars, they block it to create a dark patch. Then there is reflection nebula where we see in Maya Sabha, in uh, in Mahabharata, when Duryodhana walks and he sees a lot of reflection on himself, like that. So this illustration, we are looking at it because we know the concept of mirrors. Then we will see, okay, there is mirror over here, like that. But reflection reflection nebula is where the clouds of gas and dust reflect the light from the nearby stars. So this, it starts to blind us, this reflection. So this can be the um, cosmic interpretation of the manifested forms that we are seeing today. Then there is something called a supernova remnants also, which are nothing but the supernova explosion of the stars. Whatever is left out, it is gathered. So the specification, when we see how Vaikuntha has been made, it actually shows that there is the principle that they are saying how it was made. It very closely resembles to the state of nebula, and this is a parallel that it can be disputed. I'm not saying that it is true or anybody has said it. This is my interpretation of it. That because we always try to look at it from a more manifested form of view, but we have to try to connect modern science, which has been the knowledge that has been attained through instruments, through our perceived knowledge of our ancestors. We cannot say that what they did is only a fiction, something they have conceived through their mind or anything like that. There are different sources, because there is one type of darshana called as Charvaka darshana, where Rishi Brihaspati, he says that only what is this sharira is the only truth, and as the sharira ends, we cannot experience anything, which is not true to a very large extent. But yes, that can be disputed again. We'll go into other things also, it will become a different thing. But there are out of body experiences, so there are forces we cannot understand. So by trying to find relevance in the principle that has been mentioned in our ancient shastras to what exists today, I think our understanding builds. So in that way, my interpretation of a Vaikuntha is nothing but a nebula, the birthplace of a star. Sun is also a star. It was born out of a nebula, giving birth to a star. So this is a way, it has a very crucial role in star formation. And obviously star, as you know, new stars and planets are also a part of that. So we have all emerged from one nebula only. The earth also has come from a nebula, sun also has come from a nebula. So we all come from that. So this there are many known nebulas. I think the most famous is Orion Nebula. Then we so this is the modern relevance I find that of nebula. Now then we go forward to the next part of it. Next part of it was the next shloka is Yerchanti sada Vishnum Shankha Gadadharam Sarva Papa Vinirmuktaha Param Brahma Vishantite. Again, Param Brahma Vishantite, where does he live? It is Vaikuntha. So again, here it can be at some point of Ye Archanti has also, there are many versions which say yes Maranti also it can be used. But here we are following one text from the one source, so therefore we are keeping Ye Archanti only. So Ye Archanti. So here also, again, very simple translation for this, saying that the one who does worship of Vishnu in the form of Shankha Chakra Gadadhara. We've spoken about the importance of Shankha and Chakra. Sarva Papa Vinirmuktaha Param Brahma Vishantite. Then we go to another part which speaks about the different states of existence, Atma. So when the Atma enters the Vishantite, when we enter that particular seat, and now again, when a matter has to enter a nebula, that means when it has to form into a nebula, then it cannot exist in that manifested form. It can only exist in atomic form. So when it enters, it goes through different states itself. That state, first state is Aniruddha, Niruddha. Then next state is Pradyumna, then Sankarshana, then Vasudeva. Now, like mentioned, we have only understood these names, these words as names of the persons, but they mean something else. And they are states of existence of mind. This has been mentioned in a text called as Ahirbudhanya Samhita. So this Ahirbudhanya Samhita is also a very old text. I think it is around 2000, 3000 years old. And we are not sure about who the author is. But as far as we are concerned, it's a very old text and it's a very important part of the Pancharatra Agama tradition. The Pancharatra Agama also is very important to Dvaita, because most of the Dvaitis and Visishta Dvaitis also have connection to Pancharatra Agama, because the tantric form of kriyas are all dictated through these traditions, these agamas, agama vidyas. So this Ahirbudhanya Samhita is also, you know, it is a mention. Ahirbudhanya, first of all, is a serpent. So he is uh, vaguely referred to as, the other name is Ananta also. Shesha, Ananta Shesha also is considered as Ahirbudhanya. Ahirbudhanya is a deity, and it is not a deity that we see in the proper form. It is in the snake form, and the snake form is such that he is Ananta, that is, he has no ending or starting. It is said that at the he's in such a format that the tail of that serpent will reach the ends of existence, and the head of that serpent will reach the greatest jnana. That is the reason we say that the jnana of manifestation is above Sheshanaga. That means the world we are living in is actually supported by the hood of that Ananta. So Ahirbudhanya Samhita, this Ahirbudhanya Samhita contains knowledge about different states of existence. And this is actually received from the state of Sankarshana. So from Sankarshana, that is the from when Vishnu in his form of Sankarshana was there, this science, this knowledge was understood. And this science, this Vidya is called as Sudarshana Vidya. What is this Sudarshana Vidya? Not to be confused with the chakra. Sudarshana. Sudarshana means eternal power, the science of manifestation. Sudarshana. Here, what we need to understand is the Pancharatra Agama tradition, they understand the creation, as five, as a result of five different tattvas. So this Pancharatra, there are different texts which is relating to this, but we are only taking one samhita for part of this thing. So then in this Ahirbudhanya Samhita, it has been mentioned over here. Then it is mentioned as, the chapter is called as Sadgunya Brahma Viveka. So in that it says that there are, for the sake of Sudarshana, what happens is we need five different things. That is Sadgunas, that is the immutable, actually no, five, six, sorry, because we that also has to be included. That is Sudarshan also be included, because it will be the ultimate one. Okay, so there are six shed gunas. What are they? One is the Gnana, intellect, Shakti, energy, then Aishwarya, sovereignty, that is being independent, not being dependent on anybody. Then Bala, inexhaustibility. Then Virya, immutability. That means we cannot control it, we cannot suppress it. Then Tejas, self-sufficiency. So when all six of them come together, that shows the manifestation of Parabrahman. That process is called as Sudarshana. This is given in this Ahirbudhanya. Samhita text. Ayurveda Samhita text. So this it's a very it's a deep thing to understand. The reason why I'm talking about Ayurveda text is it's very niche. Not many people would know about it. And reading this text will understand in this process of Sudarshana. That is in this manifestation of all these things. See, like Jnana, intellect is separate. Shakti, energy is separate. Aishwarya, sovereignty, independence, that is separate. Then the inexhaustibility is separate. Virya is separate. And then Tejas is separate. All of them coming together, forming that the one who houses all these tattvas is considered as Parabrahman. So we have defined him. Why we say Parabrahman is all these. Now, this, whoever, the Atma, what happens is there is some kind of dependence on the body to receive any kind of information. There is some kind of dependence. I mean, it is not total dependence. We cannot say that it is it cannot exist without it or anything like that. I'm just giving an example where there is attachment to the body, but there is no dependence for Parabrahman. That therefore all these six tattvas, the one who houses it, he is called as Parabrahman. So all these tattvas, when it's brought together, see, like, are ingredients. If I'm making some dish, I need salt, I need spices, I need maybe rice, I need something else. All these things are together. That makes the dish, but bringing them together, there is a force behind it. There is a force behind it. That intention of bringing that force together and then making a dish out of it, that is Sudarshana. So Parabrahman, in independence of all the tattvas, he is housing it. He is the one who brings them together. Then through the interaction of the forces, he starts to manifest. So that is the concept. When he starts to manifest, there are different kinds of states. Now, since we are in the shloka, we are starting from our state, going to Parabrahman. So we are going in the reverse order. There it would be from a different order, in the opposite order, because we are looking at all the six tattvas coming together. Then he is manifesting, and then it is coming down to our level. But we are going from our level to his level. So therefore, for us, the first state is that of Aniruddha. First state is that of Aniruddha. So Niruddha, as we all know, it is complete control over the mind. It is huge focus. It is restrained or controlled mind. So that is earned through yoga. Complete focus. We cannot move around anywhere. The huge control. Aniruddha, Aniruddha. A little opposite to what we have understood. So we will lose that. That means for when we are focusing on one thing, we will stay conscious of it. We will stick to that. Aniruddha is dissipation, where the focus is completely spread out and it is sarvavyapi, omnipresent. This state is experienced first. I'm no longer focusing on one thing. The singularity focus is lost. So there is no control over it. It is completely spread out everywhere. This state is Aniruddha. Then we experience Pradyumna. Pradyumna is to destroy or kill the enemy. Here, the enemy is the manifested form. So that manifested form is completely lost at Pradyumna state. Completely gone. Then we experience Sankarshana state. Sankarshana. Sang means to bring together. Sankarshana. Karshana is attraction. At that point, then what happens when our body is lost, when our consciousness is spread out everywhere, a force pulls that consciousness towards it. It starts to gather that consciousness towards it. That state is Sankarshana. Then we experience Vasudeva. Vasudeva is the ultimate form. What is that Vasudeva? When our consciousness is held together, then what happens? We will start to invite the divine. That is Vasudeva, where the divine resides. When all our consciousness is collected back into one format, that is where the divine resides. So this is Vasudeva, and therefore Acharya is given the reference that Rishi Pulaha has said that there is no state beyond Vasudeva. That is the fifth shloka. Because it is not just him saying, it is Vedantas that is saying this. So all this is the opinion and ukti of Rishi Pulaha from different uh, Puranas. We've seen from different Puranas, references have been taken and has been framed this way. So this whole experience, we have to start looking into it in a more modern sense, because we know more from other knowledge streams today. So we have to start comparing and we have to start interpreting them in that way. So with that, we will conclude the session. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।